Introducing a twist on the standard pickleball paddle. Averaging 7.7 ounces and featuring a polymer honeycomb core, the Oneshot Flipshot is the first of its kind with two different paddle surfaces. One side offers a carbon fiber surface, while the other side has a fiberglass surface, both loaded with spin potential. So whether you're looking to tap into more power or more control, you'll have both at the flick of a wrist. The Oneshot Flipshot definitely achieved what it set out to do. There's noticeable power on that fiberglass side, and there's enough muted response on that carbon fiber side, but on the power side, you actually get enough control to where it balances it out. Throughout the playtest, I was actually focusing a lot on which side I was hitting from. I found I was putting the power side on my forehand, and throughout the playtest, I was really focusing on which side the paddle was on, and it was kind of distracting. The standout feature from this paddle was the spin. There was spin for days on this thing. Super textured on both sides, and I wouldn't say that either side has more spin than the other. At almost an inch shorter than what I'm used to, it took me a little bit of adjustment, but the shape of this paddle overall didn't really affect my play style. I felt like I was still getting a good swing through the air. The maneuverability was good, but there were times I'd feel the paddle a bit more on off-center shots, so there's an element of unforgiveness there if you're not hitting directly in the center of the paddle. Overall, I kind of liked this play test, even though the construction of the paddle was a bit of something that I had to kind of get used to. But if I were to compare this to other paddles, I would compare it to something like the Engage Pursuit MX or the Electrum Pro.
There's definitely a lot that was new to me for this play test. I'd never hit with a one-shot paddle before, and I definitely had never hit with a paddle with two different sides where one was meant for control and the other for power. And so I wasn't sure how to start it. So when I first tried, I was hitting my serves with the power side, which I really liked. I was getting easy depth. But I noticed that as if I kept it that way on my forehand side, I was having a hard time adjusting to the depth of my shots and a little bit flighty. So I flipped it over and I ended up going with the control on my forehand and my serve and going with the power on my backhand because if I'm going to need a little bit power, it's definitely on that backhand side when I'm hitting from the back court. I also liked that setup with the control on my forehand and the power on my backhand. I just felt like I was getting a little bit more spin from the control side, so I was getting those shots to stay inside the lines. The shape is not something I'm used to either. I typically play with a thicker, elongated paddle, but at net I really liked the shape of this paddle because it felt really fast and really maneuverable, so I felt good in those quick volley exchanges. Overall, I think that I typically do prefer those thicker paddles just because I like the feel of them, but if you're looking for a really fast paddle that offers a good blend of power and control depending on which side of the paddle you're using, this is definitely worth a shot.
I think like most of the crew here, I was a little bit apprehensive going out onto the court with this paddle just because it is so different and you know, being able to have two different sides, quite a different concept there. I really enjoyed it though, and I played really well with this paddle. The more I got into it, the more I got used to flipping the paddle around in my hand and utilizing the side I wanted for the type of shot I was hitting. So I actually ended up serving and hitting forehands mostly with the blue control side of the paddle, and I found I could carry more paddle speed through my stroke and get more spin and action on my ball that way. And then when I wanted to put the ball away with an overhead, I'd flip it around, use the red power side, and then I use mostly the power side on my backhand as well, like Tiff. That's the stroke where I want to add a little bit more juice to my shots. Up in the kitchen area, when I was dinking, looking for touch, definitely utilized the blue side as much as possible and was flipping the paddle around. And the more I got comfortable and used to doing that, the more it just felt a natural part of my game. And I was getting a nice feel on the ball. And again, I could cup under it, get some good spin out of that blue control side of the paddle. And then when the ball popped up, if I was fast enough, I'd flip the paddle around, get the power side going and put the ball away. So a really fun play test for me.
This was my first review of a one-shot paddle, and like Tiffany said, I didn't know where to start when I got on the court with the two different sides, the power and the control. So what I did was I independently played with each side to get a good grasp for the paddle. I found the power side to definitely have more pop than the control side. It really made a full swing for me, unnecessary for a strong drive. I really liked the combo of the power side and the longer handle length. It really allowed me to get two hands on my backhand for a little bit more of a power shot. The control side really held to its name. It was very helpful at the kitchen to avoid pop-ups and give me a little bit more control in placing my shots. So for me, the hit areas of this paddle were a little unforgiving. If I wasn't hitting right on that sweet spot, I found that there was less energy coming from the paddle. Overall, I really like the flexibility of this paddle. I usually play with a heavier 8.5 paddle, so I found after hours of play that there was definitely less fatigue on my arm than I would normally have when playing with my current paddle. Also, I did end up finding a groove with this paddle. I started hitting my serves with the power side and then flipping to the control side to get up to the kitchen, and then having that power side available for backhands.
If you're looking to put a new spin on your game, check out the One-Shot Flipshot at totalpickleball.com.